Hey guys, today I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can hang up your canvases on the wall using wire and different kinds of hardware, whether you have one of these or not. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Okay, so the first method is with these screw eyes. They're basically these little circular loops with a screw at the bottom. And the first thing I like to do when I'm doing any of these methods is to measure out where I'm going to put them. So I go ahead and measure about 1/3 of the way down my canvas. In this case, it's about 6 inches down on a 16 by 20 inch canvas frame. And you want to be somewhere right between like a halfway down and 1/4 of the way down. That way you're getting a nice hold when you go to hang it. And if you're using the method without a drill, you'll go ahead and use a tack to go ahead and open up that hole there. So right where you marked with your pencil, you go ahead and just wiggle and waggle a tack all the way in there, and then you create a nice sized hole for your screw to go in. Then you go ahead and take your little screw and just slowly screw it in there and tighten it as tight as you can possibly go. And I like to make sure that I tighten it all the way till that little notch is pointed downwards. And go ahead and do that on the other side here, and there you go. And as you can see, that little nook is pointed downwards just in case, that way the wire doesn't slip through. Go ahead and take your wire and pull it out. I like to use a slightly less heavy gauge for smaller canvases, but a thicker gauge for bigger canvases. Just depends on how heavy your canvas is. Then you'll go ahead and take that wire and loop it through your screw, and I like to measure out about 1.5 inches out with extra wire, and make sure it's nice and tight as I twist it around the bigger piece here. Just go ahead and twist it until you can go ahead and tuck in the edge of the shorter piece here, and that way you have a nice secure end here hooked around your screw. There you go, nice and tight, nice and pretty. Go ahead and straighten out your wire here and pull it over to the other side. Depending on the canvas size, I like to sometimes leave a little extra, and sometimes I like to keep it a little tight. It just depends on preference. Either way works to hang up your canvas. So go ahead and pull it over, and then make sure you measure another 1.5 inches from that screw, and that's where you're going to go ahead and trim your wire. And you can use scissors or wire cutters depending on the gauge of your wire here, but generally scissors work just fine. And you'll go ahead and tuck your wire right through your screw again, and same thing as you did on the other side, just twist it until it is tight. And go ahead and tuck in any loose ends. So the second method is the same. You go ahead and measure down to about 1/3 of the way down your canvas. Mark it with a pencil so you know where you're going. With this method, we're actually using what I believe are called D hooks, I think. So they're basically these little, they have like a ledge. So one ledge goes on top of the edge of the frame and the other edge kind of hangs down over the side. I mark where the screw is going to go with my pencil. Then you'll just take your drill and make a small hole. Then I go ahead and take a screwdriver and just screw that screw in that comes with the D hook. And it's nice and easy. So this is definitely a method you would probably want to use if you do have a drill. You can probably do it with the tack as well, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult because the screws on these D hooks are a little thicker than the screw is for the I hooks that we used before. So same thing, once you get both sides screwed down, you'll just take your wire and wrap it around using the holes that hang over the side of the frame. So I would say this method is a little more secure. I like to use the D hooks for heavier canvases, really big pieces, just because I think they're more secure than the little eyelet hooks we used in the first method. And I like to leave a little bit more slack with this method, as you can see. All right, the final method is with these little triangular hooks. I don't know what these are called, so sorry. But I like to use these ones as well for bigger canvases because they do also screw in with a separate screw. And this is nice because they actually hang down past the frame. They're not actually going to be on top of the frame where they might scratch up the wall. So you'll go ahead and use your drill to screw in again where that screw is going to go. And then same thing on the other side. And like I said, it's just nice to have this hang over the side, but really make sure that you're measuring out where it's going to go, so that way it's going to be lined up with the edge of that frame. You really don't want to have that sticking up past where your frame's going to be. And once again, same thing, pull out your wire. I like to use a thicker gauge for these bigger canvases and just wrap it around once again and make sure it's nice and tight and secure. And wire it to the other side. Leave a little bit of slack, just a little. Measure out once again about 1.5 to 2 inches and cut it, trim your wire, and wrap it on the other side. Nice and easy. Ta-da! All right, and now that you've got the wire hung on the back of your frame, you can go ahead and stick it up on the wall. Make sure the wire is connected with that nail. And there you go. Just like that, straighten it out. All hung up and ready to go. Nice and sturdy. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.